Hey, great day inspires. Another day of learning awakes us all. It is Friday. You are on Fearless Friday, Amputate Fear with your host, John Register. Oh my gosh, we have a great guest that's coming on today. And before we get started, just want to say thank you. Thank you for spending a part of your morning with us. It is 7 o'clock here in Colorado Springs, 8 o'clock in the Chicagoland area. It is 9 o'clock in New York. And if you are in Los Angeles, you're probably still sleeping. So thank you all for getting up, for being on this morning. And welcome, welcome. We have a wonderful guest that's on, truly remarkable. She's not your typical keynote speaker. She's not that. She's a comedic force of nature, a true inspiration, a survivor who has learned how to embrace life in the face of adversity. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my friend, the amazing, the one and only Stacy Pederson.
Hello. Wow, that was a really good intro.
Hey, thank you, ChatGPT. All right, so thank you for being on. I just really appreciate it. Good morning. Look at this. Look who's coming on early in the morning with us. Sylvie, did you still? She wants to see Stacy. Sylvie, if you have a question for us, please drop it in the chat. I'd love to see it. Thank you for being on. The one and only Sylvie. We got to get you on the show, Sylvie, the amazing one. Thank you so much for being on. You're just incredible. So Stacy, we were talking yesterday, and I mean, I'm just finding out more and more about you and what you do. Just kind of to tee us up, what is your keynote? I mean, you do these keynote speeches, but you're really doing it from a comedy standpoint. So explain kind of your concept, your business model of what you do in your gifting to the world.
Sure. Well, I have a background as a clean comedian, and I have a degree in theater. So I've done a lot of acting. And so then I have a story of almost dying a bunch, blah, blah, blah. We'll probably talk about that. But what happened, it was total accident, me becoming a speaker. I was doing a lot of clean comedy performing, and then the people who were hiring me found out, and they would about my story, and they would say, hey, we want you to come and be funny, but we really want to know how you actually got through everything you do. And that is how I turned into a motivational speaker.
So, we always talk about comedy like is pain plus time. So you said there's a story there. So I want to pull on that story thread about, what was the story that folks were coming up to you and saying, oh my gosh, we got to hear that story, Stacy.
Well, get comfortable. No, I'm just kidding. How much time we got?
I have my water. My coffee is coming.
Well, it is a pretty long story, but to really try and condense it down, basically 12 years ago, I was building a children's musical theater set, and I stepped on a rusty nail, and I got an infection. And during that time, I was also going through a divorce. And from the infection, I almost died. And so in 3 weeks' time, I felt like I had lost my marriage. I had lost my health. I'd lost my ability to take care of my kids. I ended up losing my job because I was too sick to work. And so I felt like life was kind of severed. But I had a positive attitude, and I kept going, and the infection kept coming back. And so I've almost died 5 times from sepsis, septic shock. And each time I went a little less resilient. I was finally diagnosed with PTSD from almost dying so much, and went through a really dark period of depression and discouragement, and trying to journey through that to come out the other end and make it a positive. So that was my story until 2 weeks ago.
I want to, for 12 years, you've been kind of battling this. You've been going through this. And in kind of my contextual model, I talk about this reckoning moment. The reckoning moment is wanting to get back something that is no longer accessible to us. I just want things to return to normal. Well, that's never going to happen. When you were going through that, is that the process that you were saying, I want to get back to something? Or were you always kind of, I think there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's going to be, this can't last forever. Which kind of bucket were you in at first?
At first, there was definitely light at the end of the tunnel. Just think positive, keep moving forward. It's just a season. And people will say things too, and it's very well meaning, where they say things like, think positive and it's all going to be for your good and have faith. And I really tried to have that mindset for a while. And it was actually, I had a surgery and then I did 12 weeks of daily IV antibiotics.
Mm.
And the doctors were like, you're good. It's never coming back. We know for sure. I mean, there's no way it could have survived what we've done. And literally 1 month to the day I stopped the antibiotics, it came back and I almost died. And then I had that moment where I realized, oh, this isn't a season. This is my life.
Wow.
That's when I fell apart.
A lot of times people will say, this is my life. This is it. I guess this is what I've been dealt with. When I talk about for example, the new normal, they're over the term the new normal. They want to hear about the term the new normal. But I've been using it for 20 years. So I say, forget y'all. I think we don't really look at what words actually mean. We just say what somebody else has said, or we just follow on to what somebody else has done. And for me, the new is no prior point of reference. There is no prior point of reference. So when you're in something that's new, you can't use a prior point or something that's gone on in your life if something is totally brand new for you. When you open a new package up, you have a new smell, new car smell, whatever it might be. And then normal is the everyday typical occurrence of a thought or an action. So what are the rituals we have in place that lead us on to a rhythm? That rhythm elevates us to a rise. Rise creates a desired result that we're looking for. When you're looking at this from your lens, and you're going through this process of finding out something new, what is the thing that takes you from the despair of this is my life, nothing else is going to change, to there's hope again? So you have this riches, rags, and how do you get back to the riches again?
Well, I think it's kind of a process, but for me, what finally happened was I completely fell apart after years of trying to be a good person and having a positive mindset. And when I finally fell apart and really just went through a grieving process, I realized that I had spent so much time on that positive mindset and keep moving forward and I hadn't gone through the grieving process, that I had never acknowledged my loss of
Mm,
things that I had gone through and my pain, and neither had anyone else.
mm,
And I had this moment where I remember exactly where I was. I was driving and I pulled over off the side of the road and I just was hit with this thought that your pain is priceless. And
mm,
this is what I mean by that, is that a lot of times when we go through something painful, it's because something priceless has been taken from us, like our health, like a relationship, a job, financial security, innocence. Something's taken from us without our permission. That was priceless. And then we're left, doing this, trying to hold on to whatever it is that we have or to deal with the pain. And there's something very healing about someone acknowledging that pain. And I realized no one had ever said, Stacy, I'm sorry, that must be really hard. Like no one had ever acknowledged that what I was going through, including myself, that it was okay to feel bad. And then I realized, I thought, you know what? I have a right to be angry. I have a right to be mad. I have a right to feel bad about everything. And I thought to myself, you know what? You do. You do feel. And same with you if you're going through something difficult. You absolutely have a right
mm,
to feel terrible. But I thought, you know what? Now that I recognize that something's been taken from me and that my pain is priceless because something priceless was taken from me, what am I going to do with it? I figured I had two choices. I could become, I call it the drunk uncle. A lot of us have the drunk uncle, where they would come home from work and they would bust open the door with their foot and they sit in their recliner and crack open a beer and hated the world, right? And I thought, well, I could be a bitter drunk uncle, or I could take the pain and choose to process through it and give it away. And that's what I did. I just made a choice. I was like, what are you going to do? And in response, my pain has become priceless because I wouldn't have the life that I have, the mindset that I have, the gratitude that I have, the relationships that I had I not chose to walk and journey through the pain and try and do something positive with it.
Mm.
And so in return, my pain is priceless.
Pain is priceless. I love that revelation, and talking about something was taken without permission, and then flipping it on the other side of it. Now the pain has become the kind of the foundation. You have used humor to help you get through some of these moments and times, and levity, and because you are, incredibly funny. How did that come about? I mean, how did you kind of make that switch to kind of make light of some of the things that you were going through?
It's just the way my mind works. So childhood drama, I don't know. Deflect. It's just I've always been a creative person, and it's just the way. It's like some things hit me is that they're just so ironic, um, and that we just take for granted or just see differently. Really, I think humor is pointing something out in a light in a way that we've never seen it, where there's some truth to it. And I love being able to do that about some of the harder topics because
Mhm.
we feel uncomfortable talking about, pain. I'm having a really hard time because, my health is gone or my relationship is falling apart. And when we can laugh at it and kind of let go and recognize we're not the only ones, I just think there's something really healing about that.
Mhm. So you said a little bit earlier that uh, that was your story stuck on the rusty nail until about 2 weeks ago. Dun, 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 the turn, the twist. What happened 2 weeks ago that has shifted?
Well, a little twist in the story that I did not see coming. So I've struggled with my health off and on for the 12 years, and I really try and maintain a healthy lifestyle, positive outlook, whatever. But I hadn't been feeling well for about the last month and a half, pretty sick. And I ended up in the hospital and all that kind of stuff. And I found out 2 weeks ago, Monday, that I was actually misdiagnosed all 12 years. That what I had been told from stepping on the nail and the bacteria and the infection was actually all incorrect. So the surgeries, the antibiotics, everything was for the wrong thing. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And that what I have is curable. So actually, I've started my treatments. I've got IV antibiotics that I'm doing and doing some different things. But I realized that for the last 12 years I've been sick, it was actually curable and I didn't have to be sick. So that led me to the question of, okay, I'm kind of at one of those cross sections again of, okay, what are you going to do about it? And the thought that I've had is, what do you do when the stories you've been told you find out are wrong? Because I was told I had this infection. I did all the protocols. I tried to live the healthy lives. I tried to do everything right with the story that I had been given, only to find out it wasn't true. And that's 12 years of my life. So I'm walking through that now. I think I know the answer, but I don't know. I'm not street smart yet because I haven't gone through it all yet. But yeah, so that's the twist. It was never the nail, which is the whole story that I've spoken on. So everything I've said in front of audiences, I find out now is incorrect. And even my case is written up from the nail is written up in a journal of medicine. And there's a specialist who takes it around the world because it's so rare and it's wrong.
Wow.
So there's just a lot there to unpack. But I realize that a lot of us experience that anyway. Some of us are told that, if you reach this level of financial success, you're going to be happy. And then you get there and you realize, oh, that's not true. Or if you find the right person in a relationship and then you get married and everything's going to be perfect. Well, anybody who's married knows it's wonderful, but it's not perfect. And there's things that
Definitely.
we're told in life, even just some of our judgments and the way that we believed and the way that we were raised, that we find out when we grow up are wrong. And I think it's kind of that same choice of, well, you can be bitter and angry about it, or what's the other choice?
Hmm. Yeah, I look at those as the parallel paths, but I'm gonna, I like how you put that. The drunk uncle, I'm coming in, I'm mad, I'm sitting down, I'm
Yeah.
shit them off like, yeah, we can choose to be. That is a choice that we can be bitter or better. I like how you framed it. That there's so many things that we have not been told that were correct, and we're living in that. And I think even now in this age where I don't know where AI is going to go, but it's data, it's garbage in, garbage out, or good inputs in, good inputs out. Which way is it going to go? Because people can manipulate the data, and so what you're being told is not necessarily true. And so how do you sift through that? I think for the last, I guess, my injury happened in 1994. So I'm so thankful that they didn't diagnose my amputation. That would have been pretty.
That would have been, you would have had a better story.
I would have a better story. Yes, but here's a person that's going around the world talking about this rarity of this misdiagnosis, and I'm just wondering, like, how many doctors out there that have misdiagnosed somebody now have a case study out there talking about this crazy rarity that really, they misdiagnosed, and how do they rectify that? I mean, that's, I think that's the I call it, the reckoning moment. When we get to the reckoning moment, we realize we don't get back what we desire to have back, and we have to kind of move forward. We have a new vision now. We can create a new vision for ourselves, but now we have to, like you said with the drunk uncle, we have to commit to the new vision, and that's tough. That's hard. Um, the new vision it's hard because we have other people in our lives that hold us back, either telling us or not telling us, what we actually need to hear, or society holds us back. We normalize around some societal things that can hold us back. Captain Hook he was a above the wrist amputee. He's a villain. So now, being an above the amputee myself, am I the villain because I associate myself as a villain with Captain Hook? So those are things that we tell ourselves, or society might tell us, and that hold us back from making those commitments and the jumps that we need to make. And you're just kind of in this process of making this what I call this rebirth. I mean, you have this new lease on life and something that's now curable. How do you see the pathway forward? How do you what's your process from going from the drunk uncle, or the drunk aunt, I guess it'd be, on the couch, to making the choice to say, I'm going to have a different life. I'm going to not be that. I'm going to be this.
Yeah. Well, I don't 100% know the answer, but I have an inkling. This is what I think, and this is the direction that I'm going to go and give it a try. And like I said, I'm not street smart yet, but we'll find out. I have a feeling the answer to my question about what do you do when the stories you've been told are wrong, I think it's going to be 5 things. I think the first one is going to be a grieving process, in
Mhm.
that the recognition of, oh my gosh, 12 years that I didn't have to do all of that. Like, there's a loss there and a shock. So I feel like I have a grieving process. The second one is, I feel it'll take forgiveness. I don't believe they did that. The doctors did that on purpose, but still,
Yeah.
you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like, how could no one have caught this? So
Right.
it'll be grief, it'll be forgiveness. And then I feel like it's opening your mind and your ideas up to new possibilities. The story that I've been told ended a certain way, and that's no longer valid, which means there's a whole new world of opportunities that I've never even thought of about my health or my life or what I'm capable of. Um, so opening yourself up to new possibilities. The fourth is, I think, get support. I'm a total introvert, but I do not think life is meant to be lived alone. And so I think getting support, whether that's through a counselor or family or friends, because it's going to be a process. And then the fifth one is just making a choice to move forward. Like, I'm just going to choose to not be angry. I'm going to go through the process to forgive and just move on. Like, that's really what it's going to come down to, is a choice.
I think those are great. Grieving, forgiveness, opportunity, support, and making the choice to not be angry. Um, I've been having a lot of conversations with folks about the choices that that come in their life, and I it's like seed planting, right? So seeds, when you plant a seed, we get the harvest of that seed, the crop, right? It doesn't produce something different. It produces more of what was planted. And so you can look at a person's life generally and say, I can see what seeds you've been planting in your life because of the fruit that it's bearing in your life. And so it's really sometimes very hard to plant, positive seeds when negativity has been in your life, unless we see negativity as the positive, right? And so then that it kind of filters through, and so we can plant the positive seeds. Um, where are, kind of changing topics now, when you think about this and this story, how do you think that you might be able to share this and go back to all in the past 12 years and say, hey, guess what, I was wrong, I was misdiagnosed, let's redo this, because I think you got like 12 years of people you go back to and say, hey, got another story, let's why don't you hire me again and we can just have another.
I've thought about, because I feel like I need to, like, for some reason, it's like, I don't want, now that I know that that story's not true, and it's not like a lie on purpose, but I feel like I need to go and like fix it in some way of just saying, hey, you're never going to believe this, but here's the twist, because actually it's all wrong. The lessons that I learned are truth, but the actual diagnosis was wrong. So I actually do feel like almost like a need to correct it in that sense. So I'm definitely going to be going back saying, hey, you want to bring me back? You're not going to believe what happened.
That's great. You're set for 12 more years. The
Just
I love that, because what you're saying is even though the diagnosis was wrong, right? You still learn the lessons.
Yes.
Still learn the lessons, and because that is true. That is the truth. Those lessons that you've learned have shaped you, have framed you, and they're true lessons. They're not like, couldn't make it up, even though that was a misdiagnosis. Now you have even more lessons you're going to learn because of this thing that's happened. So where now are, and you're speaking out in society, where can people find you to find more information about you? Where are you going to do your next comedy set? What's coming up for Stacy?
Like, oh, I'm stuttering.
I don't know. You got 12 years of stuff coming up.
I don't even know what I'm eating for breakfast, but my 15-year plan, John. You could totally follow me on social media, and it's Stacy Pederson with a D. PED as in David, ERSON. My website, stacypederson.com. And actually, I'm pretty excited about this. It hasn't been announced yet, but I will be doing a one-night comedy show with Moms Unhinged in Vegas in September. So we're going to do one night there. But I'm mostly a motivational speaker, so I just speak to whoever asks. Okay.
Yes. So that's fantastic. I know it hasn't been announced. We're going to announce it here. You just dropped it live.
I dropped it live with you, John.
You did. Came out live. All right. I love it. You heard it here first, folks. That go to Vegas. Where's it going to be in Vegas? You know where it's going to be? Can we say that?
I don't know.
Is it on the street corner? Is it on the?
I don't know. I performed
live. I got my bucket out front. I have my,
I've got stories, John, so I wouldn't be surprised.
That's great. Congratulations on that. I would love. I'd actually like to come out there and see them. I don't like that. I'm gonna like to keep that back here. So you got so some amazing folks with inside the National Speakers Association, of course, that have headlined in Vegas. So we're going to see you move to Vegas now and be the headliner out there, naming lights. That's going to be great. I love it.
Yes, and then my new keynote title, just kidding, everything I say is wrong.
Just kidding. Love it. There's some couple comments that are here. I just want to make sure we got that. Congrats. Look at Sylvie says, congratulations on that. Vegas is huge. She's still on board with us. And how does one funny up their keynote without quote unquote others' style of humor?
Yeah. So I'll give a really quick analogy is that I think of creativity and humor as like the icing on a cake. So, a cake is fine, it tastes good, and it's a majority of what's on the plate is the actual cake itself, and that's your actual content. But then I like to think of like humor or creativity or anything fun as the icing, the thing that makes it enticing and memorable or exciting. It's really, when you look at a cake, it's the icing that makes it cool, or the frosting, or the decorations. And so I think that people think you have to be hilarious the whole way through. And I don't. I think, you know what, if you have a couple of funny lines, like 3-5 lines in a 1-hour keynote, people will think you're hilarious. They really will, because they'll remember those moments. And so one of the things that I would say is, not feeling this need to be funny the whole time, I don't think is needed. I think, like I said, just maybe even 3 to 5 funny lines in an hour. The second one is that I appreciate what you're saying about other people's material. I think one of the issues for people who may not have the gift of humor automatically, if somebody writes a joke for you, there's a couple things that happen. The first one is that you know it's coming when you're going to speak. And a lot of people, it throws a lot of people because they're nervous and like, I don't know if this joke is going to work. I don't know how to do that. And there's some doubt and some questioning there because it's not natural. It's somebody else's line that's been interjected and now you're supposed to somehow perform and deliver it. So sometimes there can be a mind upset with that as well. But also just not being authentic to who you are and your story. And so that's why I encourage people to really try and come up with their own humor, or the humor needs to be super relevant to who you are and to your own individual story and your own individual style of delivery. So when I work with people on humor, a lot of times it's just we'll work through a story or whatever, and there's just a natural line that will pop up that's kind of in their voice or in their style, and then say, does this work? Like, do you feel good about that? Is it true to who you are? Is it really resonate with you as the speaker? And if that happens, then they go to deliver the line. It's very authentic, and it's not this big, oh my gosh, I have a joke coming up. I got to make sure I deliver it. So that's just my opinion.
I love that. And I know I've worked with you a couple times, and you've really helped me kind of, shape out some of the icing on my stories. So thank you for that gifting that you've done to see what the fun is. And so thank you, Sylvia, for asking that question for us today. I took away 2 things. Don't feel that you have to be funny the entire time. That's one. And then be authentic in your story. So when somebody's writing for you, or you have other people's material that might be there, you might think that you have to deliver a joke. And I think the jokes are different than the humor that comes up that's authentic to you. So that's brilliant. So that's why you need to hire Stacy, your professional speaker out there. Make sure that you're following her. We put that out there already. I think I want to put up one more time. Go to her website, which is Stacy Pederson with a D. I didn't put the R in there. Pederson. I'm sorry. I got to rewrite that. So Stacy, we're going to take that down because and that's not Lars either. So get out of here. I gotta hide that. Okay. I will put that in here right now. You need to follow her. There we go. Okay. There you go. Stacy. Did I spell that one right now?
You did. That is perfect.
Fabulous. It's a work in progress, people. It's a work in progress. That's me. Thank you so much for being on today. Thank you for those that have put in comments today. Sylvie, thanks for being on as well. And we're going to get out there. Everybody buy your tickets when Stacy puts it out there for Vegas. We're all going to Vegas to support Stacy. Yeah, awesome. And thank you for being on another Fearless Friday, Amputating Fear with your host, John Register. We'll be back here again next Friday, same channel right here. I'm doing this on StreamYard, so wherever you're watching from, Just set your dials, set your notification bell to come on in, and then and follow. All right. We'll talk to y'all later. Go forth, inspire your world. See you next time, my friends. Bye for now.